well, it's a long Sanskrit verse to say, but it's relatively easy to say. How to do it is another thing. Just as premature ecstasy on the path of spiritual life leads to sahaja-ism, so premature ideas that I'm not in any varna, or I'm not in any ashram, will also lead to destabilization of ISKCON's social what's the word?
Connection.
Yeah, fabric. Yeah, thank you very much. Fabric. Yeah. So before we attempt to teach others, we also need to teach ourselves. Now, there's two very important Sanskrit words, and if you understand these words and take them away from the class, you have done me a very great favor. One is the word paramartika. Paramartika. Paramartika means ultimate value. Ultimate value. So it's what you are ultimately. It's what you do ultimately. It's your identity ultimately. And the other one is vyavaharika. Vyavaharika. Vyavaharika means conventional, traditional, conventional identity. It's like when I came to Newark Airport. And the gentleman behind the counter, he said, "Where are you coming in from?" I responded by saying, "London, England," and showing him my passport. He said, "You've got any identity?" "Yes, this is my passport." I did not say, "Well, I'm coming in from Vaikuntha. I'm just here in this world for a little while. I'm trying to get out of this world completely, and my identity is the servant of God." What would have happened? He would have said, "Security." And I would have been in the side room. And there I would have been questioned quite severely. And a psychiatrist would have been sent to evaluate my mental capability. So that is my Paramartika identity. He wasn't interested in that. He's interested in my Vyavaharika identity. Similarly, to make a society work, we are in knowledge of your ultimate identity, but really we're interested in your varna and ashram. What can you do as a service for the rest of the community? So a devotee in ISKCON today has two services, pretty much. One service is, what can I do for Srila Prabhupada's mission? And according to that, I have an identity. So for instance, we have many potato peelers at Bhaktivedanta Manor. In fact, we have 1,360 potato peelers. 1,300 people who will do anything we ask them to do. But that's not their ultimate identity. You know, it's not that if you met them in the city of London and you said, "Who are you?" "I'm a potato peeler at Bhaktivedanta." No. This person will be I'm a hedge fund manager. I run a bank. Or I'm a city trader. Or I'm an IT, whatever. This is my identity for 8 hours of the day. So can you switch identities? Can you switch identities? I think we can. Just like wearing hats. You can switch a hat for the weather. Here's my hat. It's a British hat for British people, for British weather. But you have to take it off sometimes because like any weather anywhere in the world, it's changeable. Weather is changeable. Sometimes it's sunny. I have another straw hat. It's not that I get confused. I don't get confused about who I am. So in the same way, we have to have an identity for the world as well. What is my service to the world? How can I help in the world? Otherwise, ISKCON is very much in danger of being like we were coming through Williamsburg yesterday. Is there a Williamsburg? Gettysburg we came through. What was that last town that we came through on the way here? It was a high street. Something Berg, anyway. Could have been Williamsburg. And it was a Berg. Yeah, Harrisburg, that's right. So we came through. And there was one headquarters of an organization called the Odd Fellows Hall, or something like that. We have similar organizations in England, the Odd Fellows Hall, or the Society of this or that. And what happens is they don't have the ability to create the next generation. ISKCON is very much interested in creating the next generation, or we say we are. Creating the next generation means giving a person identity, responsibility, and empowerment to live according to that identity. Any society has to be concerned with the third generation. So it's a crucial time for the Hare Krishna movement right now. We've had the first generation, the senior devotees, or as they say when you get to Bombay, the very, very, very senior Prabhupada disciples. And then we've had the next generation, and now we're on to the third generation. Will our children's children remain in Krishna consciousness and take this mission forward? I say they will if the concepts of Varna and Ashram are developed. And it's not all about centering everything on temple services. It's a much bigger identity and a bigger responsibility towards the world. In Poland, there was a drug crisis, and there was two organizations, two spiritual organizations that were speaking yoga, meditation, mental peace, freedom from anxiety, drug-free lifestyle. And the government came to these two organizations and said, do you have a program for helping our youth get off drugs? And one group said, yes, we do, and ISKCON said, no, we don't. Guess which group the government funded? So the government funded the group that was actually going to do some tangible benefit. We went to a meeting with the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and he told us and others in the room, he said, we very much like what you're all doing, your charitable organizations, to do the work that you do and to bring about the changes in society that you all do will take the government many millions of dollars. He says, so we're happy that a lot of you do these things for free and engage your members in bringing about positive changes in society for free. It relieves the government of a burden. So ISKCON can be very, very useful, very, very helpful, without compromising on our core values. But part of this is sometimes we'll have to accede to public pressure and be what the public would expect of us. And sometimes, actually, we have to stand firm and we have to say, well, actually, socially and morally, yes, but scientifically, we have another idea. This is a man's view of life, and this is what a man can do. And it has to be that way because Mother Nature intended it that way. And it's not just our ancient texts that say it, it's modern science that says it. It doesn't mean that we can return to any type of religiously legitimated exploitation or abuse in marital relationships. Okay, we have done that, we have a history of that. Part of that was brought about by, there's a number of factors, but probably not the right place to go into it, but these factors are sort of well known, and I guess our Greenhouse Division team is going to speak a little bit about that too in one of our forthcoming sessions. But we now have an organization which used to be 95% communal living. We now have an organization which is 98% non-communal living. In fact, most of our members have never lived in a temple, neither will they live in a temple. So our services to them, our service and our direction and the provision of guidance has to be in concert with the expectations. And then we'll get that support. You cannot run a temple unless you have the bottom of the pyramid, unless you have the people on your side, unless you have, we're not out to be popular, but unless there's some popularity, unless people are coming forward and saying, I like what you people are doing, I'd like to support you, you have a very difficult future. So what is it that we've got that many people would respond very much to? And I think it's very much in the area of helping men be happy to be men. That's the theme of our weekend, for men to be happy to be men. One of the difficulties, of course, is that there's been a lot of pressure, social and moral pressure, and political pressure, and campaign groups Thirdly, when minorities have been abused in any society, and then they're given a voice, and then they voice back their complaints, the majority has to sit up and listen. However, there is a point at which minorities can start expecting the voice to be the dominant voice in society. That's also an imbalance. Mode of passion societies, Rajaguna societies and Rajaguna organizations, they swing too much this way and then overcompensate by swinging too much this way. What we need is more sattva guna. So we have a history, but we also have a future as well. If we get it right, we can prosper and society can prosper. If we get it wrong, one time Prabhupada was on a train and he said to, I believe it was Rameshwar, he said, let it be known. He said that these books will save society in its darkest hour. If you don't think that society is in its darkest hour, just pick up a newspaper and you will see the difficulties that people are having. Great confusion around the roles of men, the roles of women, gender, what is known as the freedoms that society enjoys. At what point is freedom debasing the society, creating a degenerate society? Because when you have that, we can repeat history. History has shown that when you have a degenerate society, the society becomes weak and it becomes very easy to conquer because sense gratification has become the mode of discourse. It's become the central purpose. It's become a society of charcoal makers who don't know the true value of beautiful fragrance that lies within. So I say that society is at the moment trying to destroy the basic differences between men and women. I say the members of ISKCON have to hang on to male and female identities and rejoice in the differences. Not to try to make an artificial, but Prabhuji, none of us are men and none of us are women, we are spirit souls. That's all right if you don't have a body. If you don't have a body, you're not trying to create an organizational society, then that would be correct. However, if you do have a body, then you must act accordingly. So this verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam tells us that men have to be engaged according to their varna, their ashram, their propensity. And if there's not a dangerous situation, in which case your roles in society change, then you have to be engaged. But in order to do that, you have to know your varna, your ashram, your limits, your living situation. One of the difficulties is we have, brahmacharis who sometimes wish to live as grihastas, grihastas who want to live as brahmacharis, both who want to live as sannyasis, sannyasis who want to live as avadutas. Everybody has, an identity, and you have a range of roles that go along with that, and then you can have a peaceful society. Otherwise, it's blinking chaos. Blinking chaos, that's what it is. So some solutions. Some solutions. Marriage. Do not prevaricate upon getting married, gentlemen. It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. Get married, stay married. My solution for many of the problems in ISKCON. And have a wedding. As I do weddings, I've noticed that there are many trends in ISKCON. The trend with our Indian communities that weddings get bigger and brasher and fatter and more expensive. The trend with many of our devotees who come to Krishna consciousness is that weddings get smaller and smaller and smaller and are practically disappearing. And in some Eastern European countries, there is no culture of having Vedic weddings at all. There's no fire yogya, just not the concept has disappeared. Before he passed away, Bhakti Tirtha Swami asked me, he said, please keep this culture of weddings going forward. I said, why, Maharaj? You're a sannyasi. What is it that you're interested in? He said, because it's Vedic culture. I said, well, many devotees don't like anything Vedic. And then we should, he said, no, he said, it's very important because it creates a society. If we don't have samskars, we don't actually have a society. We're the only religion in the world that doesn't have a wedding ceremony. Make it a laughing stock. So Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, a great sage of the 18th century, he said that devotees of Krishna should not discount the Vedas because when they look at the Vedas they don't find bhakti. He said, don't discount the Vedas. If you discount the Vedas and Vedic injunctions out of the reason that, well, it's not bhakti, then this is Shruti Shastra Nindanam. This is an offense against the holy name of Krishna. And I was surprised to read that. So, my dear friends, everybody needs help to get married, everybody needs help to remain married, and everybody needs help to prevent the confusion that sometimes takes place in marriage about men's roles. You know, when I like my wife, I'm a man, and when I don't like my wife, I'm a spirit soul. Okay? You know, when I want to go traveling, I've decided as a man, when I want to go traveling, it's, you know, we're more Vanaprastha now, we've been together for a long time. And she says, well, what about me? Do I not get a discussion? Do I not get a discussion on this? And so, you can't just pick and choose your ashram. It's not chocolates in a box. You know, these are prescribed duties. Prescribed duties means that your mentor, guide, shiksha, diksha, guru will help you, should help you. If you don't have anybody to help you, please find somebody. Many people come to me and they say, well, you know, I don't need my guru. Last time I spoke to my guru was 2 years ago. And I usually tell them, well, please write a letter to your guru. If you're not going to give me any advice, I need to find someone else. A guru is supposed to give advice. If every disciple wasn't getting adequate guidance and advice wrote to their guru, we would have the next generation of gurus in ISKCON, including female Diksha gurus. It would roll it out. At the moment there's a tension. As long as you can have a baptism, then it doesn't seem to be a problem. But rubber stamping will not do. We cannot have disciples who are rubber stamped. We need disciples who are disciples. Discipline. Discipline means to be given guidance. Discipulus means they have to be given guidance. So find someone to give you guidance. And we need schools, and we need employment. We need employment. Devotees need guidance for employment. No one should be in the ashram, no one should remain a brahmachari until he's 50, and then come to the temple president and say, I'm a bit confused about my identity. Of course you are. Grihastha life begins at 25. Unfortunately, people come to our movement when they're 25. And then it gets sorted out after a few years. But there's a time for everything. And there's a biological clock for everything. And therefore, Varnashram system is a perfect system because it's designed by the person who made your biological time clock. So don't be surprised if it kind of feels comfortable. Varnashram is comfortable because it's tailor-made for who you are, but it will help you in the long term. Okay, we have to talk about wealth creation. Where are the schools going to come from? Where are these retirement homes going to come from? Where are these Varnashram colleges going to come from? Well, we have to talk about wealth creation. Who's got the wealth? And what can you do for the people who have wealth so that they will reciprocate and help you with your part of the mission? It's reciprocation. Finally, let us all rejoice in actual Brahminical culture. Brahminical culture doesn't just mean japa. It doesn't just mean the morning program that someone else has organized for me. In other words, someone else dresses the deities, someone else looks after Tulsi, someone else looks after this, someone else looks after that. We're going to breakfast now, someone else has cooked it for me. We're going to talks, someone else has arranged the talk for me. What are we going to do? And so therefore, Prabhupada said one time, if you see 10 Brahmins walking along the road at 12 o'clock, he said 1 hour later, you will see 12 Brahmins cooking. Each Brahmin has to know how to cook, because that's what Brahmins do. They cook, they do puja, they study, they talk, they do fire yagas, they do samskars. It's not a two-piece of string. We need Brahminical culture, because from the Brahminical culture will come everything else. And whether we're Brahmins or not, we owe it to ourselves to remain spiritually enlivened. Spiritually enlivened. Someone just said to me, he's just come into ISKCON. He said, wow, this movement is amazing, isn't it, Kripamoya? I said, yeah, it is actually. And sometimes we can say, well, there's this and this and this and this and this. And Uttama uses the other hand as well. He goes, well, yeah, we got this and this and this. He's losing his hair because of different societal problems. But we have a wonderful movement. And every day, I don't know about you, but every day I'm receiving messages from people who are working in their own particular field to take Krishna consciousness a few steps forward. And it's a wonderful thing. So, in response to the person who asked me, how do you stay spiritually enlivened for 45 years? I said, be prepared to be bored, but also be prepared to be excited as well. Be prepared to be zapped, as we say, as Krishna reveals to you what your life can become with Krishna consciousness and what this movement can become also. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Krishna conscious men Ki Jai, Krishna conscious women Ki Jai, Hare Krishna. Thank you.